Today, I am going to show you how to set up Live2D models in VTube Studio. This has been requested a lot, so I will be including the positions for the leans. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a body angles tutorial, so check that out if you have the time, energy, and/or patience. So, let's get into this. First, we want to start with a fresh model that has not been set up yet. So we change VTS model, and I will be blurring out this bottom bar because there's a lot of models here that I have been working on. Alright, so let's do it on this model. Now this model is not done yet, but it is far enough in the rigging process that I can show you how to set it up. First, we're gonna start with the auto setup, which is not good by the way, but we're gonna work up from there. Now, after you've set all of this up once, you don't need to do all of it again because you can just copy from the model that you've already set up. But for now, for this video, I will be showing you how to set it up from auto. So this is the model. Then we go into settings. And we want to go into model settings. Alright, first of all, icon. You can load it in through here. As long as it's in the same folder, it'll show up. And you can change the name of the model up here as well. Now, idle animation, if the model has an idle animation, in this case it does not, so we don't need to bother with that. If you've accidentally did like the no setup, you can press the auto setup from here, or if you messed it up, you can reset it from here. Fix white outlines. Sometimes you will see like white lines in between the layers. In that case, you can press that and that'll fix it. Customize model is just to change the color of certain layers and stuff like that. I like to lock this to 60 FPS. You don't have to, but it's because 60 FPS is what I lock it to in Live2D, so it matches up better. Then you don't really have to bother with all of this. You can turn on wind strength, but I would advise against it when it comes to models that have augmented physics, which is like movement that's physics based. So I never turn on wind strength. But if your movements are rigged on the parameter instead of on the physics parameter, then you're probably good with wind strength. Dragging physics does not really matter. You can just leave that, I suppose. Right. Face left and right. This is just looking left and right. That is usually fine. Angle Y is also usually fine. And Z is also usually fine. Eyes open. This is usually set high. And this is one that you're gonna want to mess with because everyone's tracking is different. For me, for example, it's very important that this is set to high because otherwise it will register my eyes as half closed when I look normally. I don't know what's going on with that, but everyone has different eyes. It tracks everything differently, so you might want to mess with this to get the best results. And then open right, same as open left. Make sure open right and open left have the same numbers. You want those to be the same. Now, for this, it is usually fine. I don't know why the mouth open is this high. Did I mess with the auto settings at some point? I must have, right? There is no way. This is the default. I don't know what to tell you. But that is set very high, and I'm sure there's a reason for that. So, what we want to do now is we want to put the leans in. So, let's say this is lean X. For the input, we want face position X. And the output is going to be position X. Now, this is not a default parameter on Live2D, this is something you have to make yourself. So this, instead of position X, it can be called literally anything that you've named it. For me, it's position X. Then we are gonna say face position Y. So this is lean Y. Output position Y. And then a position Z. And that is gonna be lean Z. Output position Z. Okay, so that should be it for the leans, which is left and right lean, forward and back lean, up and down lean. Then I'm going to show you setting up VBridger parameters, because while we're here, I'm pretty sure this model has VBridger. So let me check by doing the output first. Let me double check that one. Oh, okay, hold on. It does not have brow angle as a standard, so we're gonna have to put that in as well. Brow angle L. And for the inputs, we are gonna put this on brow left Y. The angle can be on the Y. It usually works like that. So we're gonna do the same with the right side, which is brow right Y. Then, let me scoot this over a little bit. Okay. Now, let's see which VBridger parameters I have in here. These are all physics. Okay, yeah. Okay, we have full VBridger here. Good. Okay. I'm not crazy. Mouth X. Let's start with that one. So for inputs, we want to go to mouth X. And we can keep putting this in. Also, name your parameters. I'm not doing that consistently at the moment, but you should. Right. Tongue out. And we have an output for that one as well. If you want to know more about mouth forms, by the way, I don't know if I've ever covered VBridger. But I do have a mouth forms tutorial that I will link somewhere at this point. Right. So, tongue out. And we just match all of this to the VBridger. Cheek puff, for example, we have that one, which is over here, cheek puff. Usually I like to name it the same as the VTS parameter names, but you can technically name it anything. Now this will all look like plugin, because you get these when you have VBridger. Like it's a plugin. So if you don't have VBridger, chances are you will not see this. I can technically use the filter to search for all of this. But that would require me remembering what all of the parameters were. And I do not have the mental energy for that. Did I just do funnel? Okay, so pucker. If I type in pucker, yeah, it comes up. Let's see. Are there any more? Eye squint, joypad. Okay. And all of this is full body tracking plugin, which I am not going into, by the way. Side note, but I will not go into that. Okay. If you have more to put in here, just keep pressing the plus sign to put more in. But for me, for now, this is all I needed to add to the model. So what we're going to do now, also, okay, hold on. Before anything, if you go to hotkey settings and expressions, this is where you put in the hotkeys, by the way. Set, unset, expression, expression. I don't have anything for this model because, again, it is not done yet. But this is where you put those in. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to connect my phone to VBridger, which I will connect to VTube Studio, so I can start tracking. And I am going to test this model's movements and adjust on the fly, basically. Okay, so she moves, right? She is currently moving. So we are going to test. Now, rotating this way and that way, we can see that it is doing its job for the most part. We are floaty. Why are we floaty? Hello? Ah, movement configuration. I forget about that. Set this to 0. Absolutely always set that to 0. We do not want floaty feet. That is my one biggest pet peeve. Floaty feet. Right, so we are currently moving left to right, and we're doing that pretty well. And then moving up and down. We are not moving up and down. Cool, cool, cool. So let's see why that is happening. We can turn this to 30 and minus 30. That is better. As we can see here, the movement is going a little bit out of bounds, but it should be absolutely fine on 30. If you want it to be a more subtle rotation, you could set this to 40 and it'll be absolutely perfectly fine on 40. On the angle Z, you can do the same thing. Set this to 40 and minus 40. The input here is gonna have to go to 40 and minus 40. And it is the same for Y. This is gonna be 30 and minus 30. And the higher you set this, the less instant response you get. Like, the less sensitive it will be. However, if it's too sensitive, it'll start looking stiff. So you gotta find a balance for that. Again, rotation. We can put this to, let's say 35 minus 35. See, it is a lot less sensitive, but it looks smoother. Right. As for the eyes, let's zoom in a bit so we can calibrate the face a little bit more. Right. This doesn't have to be on 0.9. However, it kind of does for me, because if I set this to the max, you can see that the eyes have closed. So for me, 1.9 works way better because we're gonna be hanging around the 1 point at that. But again, for most people, I would assume you can turn that down a little. It's just that my eyes are small, so it doesn't like to track. So I have to get an exaggerated number out of that. Looking up and looking down is not gonna track very well. It never tracks very well. Eyebrows are always fine. I don't think I've ever had problems with eyebrows. I don't think I've ever had to adjust them. If we set the input to 0.2, then we gotta set this one to 0.8. 0.8. We gotta balance out. Okay. So that makes it a little bit more sensitive. Mouth open. Looks fine. Mouth open looks fine. Unless you're mumbling like this, in which case it's not gonna react much. But that's only if you're mumbling. You're not supposed to mumble. Although, if it is a problem, you can lower this a little bit. In which case you can mumble and it'll show up a little bit better. If that helps. Position. See, this is what we gotta test as well. So, this is supposed to be the position, and it is stuttering a little bit. You can hear my voice moving around because I am moving left and right in position to my camera. So if we want this to be more sensitive, we will have to turn that down a little on the in. And that is, again, up to preference. Right, position Y, this is the one that wasn't working. So we're gonna have to take this in massively. Because unless I stand up completely, it's not gonna bounce. Right, -2 to 2. And there it is. If you want to increase the sensitivity, just lower the values of the in. And that is what is working for the Y. Now position Z. Looks like a 3 to -3. And there's the lean. Makes sense, right? As for the VTube Studio parameters, I can show you, but usually you don't have to adjust them. Unless you're like, there's something that's really not working, in which case you can fiddle around with it. But usually this should be working fine. Like, see, that should be working fine. Okay, so that was it for this tutorial. I hope that helped for everyone who kept asking about it. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys!